Hi, I'm Brian Barnett, Mayor of the City of Rochester Hills, and as always, thanks for watching. I'd like to spend just a couple moments with you today and talk about something that perhaps you've seen in the paper or maybe even received an interesting phone call over the past couple weeks. And that's an issue related to our trash pickup. Now, it's a complicated issue, so give me just a minute or two to explain to you what the City Council and what the City Administration has been doing. For those of you who've been with the city for at least 5 years, you recall that the old system we had here for trash pickup was a little bit unique among our neighbors. Every individual homeowner was responsible for their own trash pickup. And there were certainly some inefficiencies related to that plan. We had trash out on streets almost every day. People were paying a variety of prices. In fact, the average price was between $60 and $80 a quarter back in 2008. So the City Council did a lot of research and took a lot of feedback from residents, certainly as we were out and about in the community, and recognized that we could achieve some lower prices and some improved efficiencies with a single hauler contract. We went through an extensive bid process. It took about 7 months, and we put out on the open market a bid for customers and for garbage companies to solicit for the city's business. What we promised was 26,000 customers, and what we asked for was the best price available. And they bid on a function of two things: a 5-year contract with the option of a 5-year renewal. And all the companies bid that, and one company won that bid. It was called Republic Services. Now, Republic Services has been providing the city's trash pickup for the past 5 years. And over the course of the years, throughout various times over that time period, we've asked our residents, how's the service? We do it in two ways. One, we have a survey that is conducted by the Public Affairs Research Laboratory at Oakland University. And in the survey, we ask residents what is their satisfaction level with our trash pickup, both with the incentive component with Recycle Bank as well as the trash pickup with Republic. And the answer that we received back on our most recent statistically significant survey was that only 4% of our population was dissatisfied with our service. Now, we cross-reference that against the number of complaints we get. Now, the city doesn't pick up your trash. Those aren't city employees on the streets. But we do have a person here at the city that monitors, sort of a liaison between the city, our residents, all of you, and Republic. So we're sort of a one-stop shop. If there are complaints, we get those complaints. And over the course of the last year, we receive about 50 complaints. I believe it's about 50 complaints a year, which equates to, when you look at the number of service interactions at each home, there being over 1 million a year, a number of about 99.95% satisfaction rate at each individual interaction. So in large measure, the council knows that the residents seem very satisfied with the trash pickup. Now, an additional component that's interesting is our Recycle Bank component. And if you go out in your yard or your garage and look at those green bins, you'll see a note on the side, "First in Michigan." And you'll recall that we had a pretty innovative solution when we proposed this in 2008, implemented in 2009, to actually incent people to recycle. The results that we've seen, and you've seen talk about here on Rochester Hills Television or on the video blogs, has been incredible. We have changed the culture of recycling in our community. Those big bins help, the incentives help, but in a community where recycling used to happen at about an 18 to 20% clip, now, weekly, we're seeing between 80 and 85% of all of you recycling on a weekly basis. It's incredible, and we're off the charts nationally for our participation. Those reward coupons that some of you use are also a big incentive and a neat and unique part of our program. The numbers for the last 12 months show that 32,000 coupons were redeemed at a clip of about 88 a day, or about 4 or 5 every single hour. Interesting. Our community seems to like the service and seems to be inclined to use those Recycle Bank reward points. Now, in the ad, and one of the things mentioned in the paper, we talked about price, or was mentioned about price. And let me spend a moment on that. As I mentioned, when we first started, the market would bear numbers anywhere between $60 and $80 to $85 a quarter. And when we contracted the price, we got down to a rate that was about $46.50, with an escalator each year of about 3%. Now, there's a few other things involved in that first contract, like a fuel surcharge and some other items, but I'm happy to report that we've made some significant contract improvements. And before I get to show you exactly what those are, let me tell you a little bit about the process, because there's been a little bit of discussion about the process. The City Council formed a committee, a subcommittee on solid waste, which has spent about the last 5 months renegotiating the current contract, both on price, service, and overall value. And let me show you what some of the things are that we've been able to negotiate. As I mentioned, the current service provides for a price now in this year, 2013, it ends in March, of $51.54 per quarter. There is a fuel surcharge, and it's based on the average yearly price of diesel fuel, and that price, if it goes up, is impacted in your number. Your bill goes up. The snowbirds have an opportunity to opt out. If you go to Florida or Arizona in the winter, you can opt out up to a maximum of 8 weeks or about $20. $20 or about 8 weeks. And our leaf pickup currently starts in April and ends in November. Well, as we asked residents, we know that residents are always interested in keeping more of their money. We are too. So price was a big component, and some of these other areas were areas that we had heard that we thought we could perhaps make some improvements. And I'm happy to report to you that the contract negotiations have resulted in significant improvements. First, relative to price, the new contract proposes a price of $45 a quarter. Now this price is actually, there we go, $45 a quarter. Now this price is actually lower than when we started the program back in 2009, a significant reduction of about 14 or 15%. Additionally, this fuel surcharge, we didn't like that. We didn't like the fact that our prices were still dependent on the overall price of fuel. That fuel surcharge has been eliminated for the next 5 years. No fuel surcharge. Additionally, we heard from some of you that the snowbird credit was an issue. And so while we certainly couldn't accommodate every single scenario, we did increase the new snowbird credit by 50%. So there's now up to a $30 maximum for a snowbird credit. And we know some of you struggled with those late hanging leaves that seem to cling to the trees into December. That November 30th was a problem for some. So we extended this into mid-December for additional leaf pickup. Now, all of these items were, I think, substantial contract improvements, and there's many more. For example, we heard from those of you that live in condos and apartments that you'd like the program extended into where you live. And in our contract discussions, Republic has agreed to offer similar pricing into those areas where there wasn't service before. Additionally, if you'd like larger carts, we have larger carts that will be made available for purchase in the next 5 years, over the next 5 years. So you can see a significant number of improvements made over where we were in the contract 5 years ago. A better contract now than we even had when we thought we had a pretty good deal back in 2009. Now additionally, one more thing I'd like to share with you about price, because not everyone recognizes that there are additional ways to get this number down even further. There are discounts that are available for every resident, and these have been available since the beginning of the contract, but again, not everyone knows. First, if you pay in advance for the year, you can receive a 5% discount. Many of you pay advance for the year for certain services, lawn services, things of that nature. If you do that, you get a 5% discount. If you are a senior citizen, age 65 and older, you can have another 5% discount. If you choose to pay your bill online, they offer a 3% discount, meaning that you have the opportunity of a cumulative 13% discount on top of the $45 that you see over here as the base price per quarter. If you've mentioned that ad or you saw something about prices in other communities, let me spend just a minute on that. The city of Rochester Hills was compared to a couple of communities that are really very difficult to compare us to. And I am not a trash expert, but over the course of the last few years, I've become pretty passionate about understanding the differences. I want what's best for our community, and I know our city council does as well. When you look at communities like Troy and the city of Rochester, they have an entirely different model for trash. They fund trash services based on a millage, and a millage is an entirely different way to do it. In fact, we looked at a millage when we first proposed this contract in 2009. The millage is challenging. The benefits of the millage, first of all, is you can generally charge a lower cost. There isn't the associated fees with billing on a quarterly basis, which of course costs money when you have 26,000 accounts. But a millage then forces the price of trash to be based on the value of your home. And it's also spread across the business community, a community which, at least in our contract, wouldn't receive any of the benefits. So when you look at comparisons between the city of Rochester Hills and cities like Troy and Rochester, it's really not a good comparison. Those numbers may seem lower, but the businesses are paying a portion of it, and it's based on the value of your home. If your home is worth twice as much as my home, you're going to pay twice as much for trash, even if you put out less. It's important to know that because, as I mentioned, over the past few weeks, there's been an incredible amount of interest in the trash program. It is important because it's one of the largest contracts that we sign and one of the largest contracts that impacts your life, perhaps more so than anything else besides maybe Detroit Water and Sewer. I would encourage you, I've spoken a while here and shared a lot of numbers, take some time and check out the city's website, www.rochesterhills.org. In it, you'll see a complete copy of the contract, the proposed 5-year contract, as well as a lengthy presentation by an industry expert that the city hired to help us make decisions in this process. It's the City Council meeting of September the 30th, and it's available online immediately. Take some time and take a look at the presentation, and if you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me if you have questions about the process. Or if you'd like some help in acquiring some of these discounts or want to see how the program fits your individual situation, our trash liaison is Bob White. And Bob White's phone number is on your screen here, 248-841-2441. Bob is very helpful and more than happy to help you achieve all of the discounts you possibly can. It's our desire that this trash program be as innovative as possible. We've done some great things, and I want to thank you, our community, for helping us change the culture of recycling. Our City Council and administration has worked hard to lower the price from what we paid over years past and to continue to bring the best value and service to each resident of the City of Rochester Hills. And if you have time and want to look at anything I've mentioned, any of the numbers or in any type of detail, please visit our website, take a look at the trash presentation, solid waste presentation, or the website in particular under the Legislative Center for our contract details. As always, I thank you for watching, thank you for recycling, and thanks for being part of a great and innovative community.